Hello, welcome to Secret Zone. Subscribe and turn on notifications for stories you won't forget. The moment the door slid open, I knew something was wrong. I was standing behind the front desk, doing what I had done hundreds of times before, welcoming guests with a polite smile, scanning reservation details, keeping my voice calm and professional. Then I saw him. He froze mid-step, just for a fraction of a second, but I noticed. I always notice. His hand tightened around the handle of his suitcase, and the woman beside him laughed softly, unaware that the ground beneath her was about to shift. I glanced back at the screen and read the name on the booking. It wasn't his real one. It was a fake. A name carefully chosen to hide the truth. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. Instead, a strange clarity washed over me. My husband had booked a room under a fake name, and he had chosen the one place he thought he would never see me, my workplace. I looked up again, met his eyes, and offered the same calm smile I gave every guest. In that moment, he realized his secret hadn't just followed him here. It had checked in ahead of him. I never thought my life would split into a before and after at a hotel front desk. From the outside, everything looked normal. I had built a reputation as someone reliable, composed, and trusted with responsibility. At home, my marriage seemed steady, quiet routines, familiar conversations, nothing dramatic enough to raise alarms. But over time, there were small things that didn't fit. Shorter answers. Excuses that sounded practiced, a distance I couldn't quite name. I told myself not to overthink it. I believed in facts, not fear. Standing there that night, looking at a reservation created to erase me from his choices, I understood something important. This wasn't an accident, and it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a decision. And while he expected chaos, tears, or a scene, what he didn't expect was silence. I didn't confront him. I didn't expose him. I checked him in, handed over the key, and watched him walk away carrying a secret he thought was safe. That was the moment I stopped being just a wife, trying to understand, and became a woman, preparing to take control of her own truth. Working behind the front desk had trained me to notice details others missed. The way a guest hesitated before answering a simple question. The way eyes avoided contact when a lie was forming. That evening felt ordinary at first. The lobby lights glowed softly. Luggage wheels whispered across the floor, and my focus stayed on the screen in front of me. Then I saw the reservation. A room booked under a name that didn't belong to anyone I knew, yet something about it tugged at my attention. The payment method was familiar. Too familiar. I stared at the screen longer than I should have, my chest tightening as recognition settled in slowly, like a shadow creeping across a wall. Before I could fully process it, the doors opened. I looked up, and there he was, my husband, standing beside a woman I had never seen before, carrying himself with a confidence that vanished the instant our eyes met. For a brief second, the world went quiet. He hadn't expected me to be there. Not here. Not in this place he believed was safe from reality. I felt no urge to shout or run. Instead, I felt steady, grounded. I greeted them the way I greeted every guest, my voice calm, my expression neutral. When he gave the fake name out loud, it sounded wrong in his mouth, like a borrowed identity that didn't fit. I handed him the key and watched him walk away, knowing something fundamental had shifted. He thought the lie had protected him. What he didn't realize was that it had just placed everything directly into my hands. I didn't go home early. I didn't confront him that night. I finished my shift with the same precision I always did. But inside, my thoughts moved carefully, arranging themselves into order. Emotion could wait. Facts could not. I replayed every recent conversation, every excuse, every unexplained absence. What once felt like small cracks now formed a clear pattern. I decided then that I wouldn't act on suspicion alone. I needed certainty. Over the following days, I stayed observant rather than reactive. I watched his behavior change. How he avoided my gaze, how his phone never left his side, how affection became something rehearsed instead of natural. Quietly, I gathered information. Reservation logs, transaction records, confirmation messages that weren't meant for my eyes but found their way there anyway. Each detail removed another layer of doubt. It wasn't just betrayal. It was planning. While he thought he was balancing two lives, I was documenting one truth. The strange part was how calm I felt. There was sadness, yes, but beneath it was clarity. I realized I wasn't afraid of losing him. I was afraid of losing myself by pretending not to see what was right in front of me. I didn't want revenge. I wanted control of my dignity, my future, my story. And I knew exactly where the truth would be impossible for him to escape. The night everything came together arrived quietly. The hotel was hosting a formal gathering, one that brought attention, staff, and an audience that expected professionalism above all else. He attended with a woman from the reservation, believing the setting still belonged to him. He didn't notice how prepared I was. Screens were tested. Files were organized. Nothing dramatic, just undeniable. When the moment came, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't point fingers. I spoke calmly about honesty, about trust, about how lies don't disappear just because we hide them behind new names. Then the evidence appeared. Not accusations, proof. The room shifted. The woman beside him turned to look at his face, confusion melting into realization. He couldn't explain fast enough. For the first time, he wasn't in control of the narrative. I wasn't cruel. I was clear. I didn't humiliate him. I stopped protecting him. Silence filled the space where excuses usually lived, and in that silence, the truth finally stood on its own. Afterward, there were no dramatic scenes. No shouting, just a quiet conversation where his apologies sounded small against the weight of what he had chosen. I listened without interrupting, not because I owed him anything, but because closure doesn't require chaos. I told him I was done, not angry, not bitter, just finished. Walking away felt lighter than holding on ever had. In the days that followed, I focused on rebuilding something stronger than a marriage built on deception. I reclaimed routines that belonged to me. I slept peacefully again. I learned that strength doesn't always look loud or victorious. Sometimes it looks like composure, like knowing when to let go. He booked a room under a fake name to escape the truth. Instead, he walked straight into it. And I walked out with something far more valuable than answers. I walked out with myself. What I learned from all of this is simple but hard to accept. Betrayal doit sentir. Always arrive with chaos. Sometimes it walks in quietly, wearing confidence, believing it will never be seen. I didn't win because I exposed him. I won because I refused to lose myself by begging for honesty from someone who had already chosen deception. Letting go wasn't weakness, it was the first moment of real strength. If this story made you think, or reminded you of your own worth, you're not alone. There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than confrontation, and dignity becomes the loudest response of all. Thank you for listening to my story. If you want to hear more real, emotional stories where truth always finds its way to the surface, subscribe to Secret Zone. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most.